Tonight's journey isn't a bedtime story. It's a one-way ticket to old Europe, a time so charmingly awful, even your filtered tap water would have been considered sorcery. In this video, we're not just talking history, we're dropping you into it. You will live, breathe, and possibly vomit your way through a day in the 1300s. From breakfast, spoiler, there isn't one, to bowel movements. You won't like where they go. You'll find out, firsthand, why you wouldn't last a day in old Europe. So, hit like to honor your ancestors who survived this. Subscribe if you enjoy waking nightmares. And let's begin. Close your eyes. Now open them. You've just time traveled. And oh no, you forgot to pack immunity. So you wake up in filth, because that's what you sleep in. You wake up with the sun, not because you're well rested, because the lice on your scalp started a dance party sometime around 3 a.m., because your neighbor's baby's been crying for 6 hours straight, because the chickens under your straw mattress just laid an egg directly beneath your spine. Congratulations, you're now a medieval peasant. You are 17, and that's considered prime marriage and dying age. Your home, a one-room mud and wood hut. Roof leaks when it rains. Smoke clings to the rafters because there's no chimney. There's a hole in the corner where rats enter and sometimes exit. Privacy doesn't exist. Your entire family, 6 people and 2 goats, sleeps within arm's reach. There are no beds, just straw. Straw that hasn't been changed in a year. It smells like sweat, mildew, and faint despair. Morning routine, rotting teeth, holy fear, and boiling skin. There's no such thing as brushing your teeth. Your toothbrush is your sleeve. Your toothpaste is non-existent. Your breath, a war crime. But at least you have breakfast. Just kidding. You chew stale rye bread so hard it scrapes your gums raw. You sip thin beer because water will kill you, literally. And yes, even children drank beer. Hydration via fermentation. You say a silent prayer, not because you're devout, but because hell is real, and you see signs of it daily. Your neighbor just lost another child to the bloody flux. Your aunt's skin is covered in mysterious pustules, and the village priest says it's all your fault. Something about sins and demons hiding in your spleen. Welcome to Europe, where medicine is superstition with better robes. Hygiene, none. Zip, nada. You haven't bathed in weeks. Your clothes are stiff with sweat and dirt. Your socks, you don't own socks. You just wrap rags around your feet and hope the blisters don't become gangrenous. There is no toilet. If you're lucky, you squat behind a bush outside. If not, there's a chamber pot, which is a fancy term for a wooden bucket full of human horror. And yes, you toss it into the street. Sometimes you yell, "Goddess low," as a warning. Sometimes you don't. Too bad for the kid walking by. The air smells of burning dung, unwashed skin, and moldy fish. And that's just your house. Job. Oh, you're a free peasant, which means you work until collapse. You don't clock in. You just wake up already behind schedule. You grab a hoe and trudge into the fields. Your job, not dying before sunset. You're harvesting barley, or maybe it's oats. You honestly don't know. They all taste like dirt anyway. Your back aches within the hour. Your hands are cracked, blistered, and permanently stained with soil. Your bones pop like firewood every time you stand. And you do this 6 days a week. The 7th day, you pray for mercy and give 10% of your barley to the church, who, by the way, owns half the village and reminds you often that suffering is holy. You're allowed to rest if the sky falls, or you're dead. Lunchtime, the same as breakfast, but sadder your lunch. Cold porridge. It's gray, slimy, and shared with your sister, who has fleas. There's no meat. You haven't seen meat in months. Occasionally you get fish, and by fish, we mean a crusty dried herring so salty it could qualify as a hate crime. No nap, no shade. You eat while swatting flies off your face and pretending not to hear your joints scream. The water in the nearby stream looks tempting, but you remember last time someone drank from it. He died within 3 days, his stomach swelling like a wineskin, his tongue black. So instead, you sip beer again. You're slightly buzzed, slightly dehydrated, and entirely medieval. Disease, constant. Pain, constant. Hope, optional. You don't go to a doctor. Doctors don't come here. If someone's coughing blood, the priest says it's God's punishment. If someone has seizures, it's the devil. If someone breaks their leg, it's fate. So you cure ailments the old-fashioned way. You burn herbs. You chant Latin you don't understand. You apply pigeon dung to the wound and hope it doesn't get infected. Spoiler, it gets infected. Always. And it's not even sunset yet. Your boots are soaked through. Your fingers are cracked. You're 17, but you feel 70. You miss warmth, privacy, clean water, but those things don't exist here. There's no break, no spa days, no vacation, no mental health leave. There's just you, your rake, and the hope you won't step on a rat while sleeping tonight. Your cousin got the plague last spring. He died in 24 hours. You remember his eyes, wide, wild, begging. There was nothing anyone could do except pray, which is exactly what you'll do now, because as the sun sets and the wolves howl, tomorrow might not come. The darkness inside your door, where sleep kills, class crushes, and justice is a joke. The sun has set, not in a poetic Instagram filter kind of way, but in a final, medieval way. Darkness here doesn't mean nighttime. It means danger. There are no streetlights, no lamps, no electricity, only the flickering dance of a weak tallow candle that smells like beef fat and old shoes. You sit on a splintered stool inside your one-room hovel, the door barred with a piece of wood thinner than your will to live. You want to sleep. You need to sleep. But you're scared, because here's what's waiting for you in the dark. Rats, lice, your neighbor's screams, muffled, but very real, and the ever-present stench of death, soaked into the soil outside. You lie on your straw mat. It's crawling, not metaphorically. Literally, you feel something brush your leg. It's either a mouse or the ghost of that chicken you ate 3 weeks ago, raw, because the firewood was damp. You shift to scratch your side and remember, the lice bites have turned into boils. Again, a baby starts wailing somewhere in the village, then stops. That silence, that's the most terrifying sound in old Europe. It might mean sleep, it might mean death, but you can't go check, because you're scared of your own shadow and the shadows of the others who roam the night. There's a knock at your door. You don't answer, because nobody you want to see visits after dark. If it's not a thief, it's the constable. And if it's the constable, someone's about to be arrested, possibly for witchcraft, possibly for looking at the Lord's pig the wrong way. Which brings us to your next problem. You're not just poor, you're powerlessly poor. You are property, not in name, but in essence. You belong to the land. The land belongs to the Lord, and the Lord belongs to God. Allegedly, you toil endlessly, break your back in his fields, and in return, you get protection. From what? That's never made clear. Possibly bandits, possibly your own thoughts. You know your place, because it's been beaten into your bones since birth. You do not speak unless spoken to. You bow when told. You kneel when required. And if you dare to question it, well, Then comes the justice. Let's say you steal a loaf of bread because your family is starving, because there's no work, because your sister just buried her third child in the frozen dirt. They catch you. They always catch you. There is no trial. There is spectacle. You are marched to the town square. The entire village is gathered for entertainment, not morality. Children stare. Old women weep. The priest recites Latin none of you understand. They tie your wrists, not with ropes, but with truth. You are nothing. Then comes punishment. Maybe stocks, where you'll rot in the open, your feet in holes, your face full of spit from passing drunks. Maybe whipping, bareback, cold air, cheers from men who were you yesterday. Or maybe worse, the trial by ordeal. You're handed a red-hot iron. If you drop it, you're guilty. If you hold it and your skin peels off, still guilty, just faithful. Justice here doesn't care about guilt. It's about maintaining the myth that someone somewhere is in control. Spoiler, they're not. Sometimes you're just unlucky. Sometimes the Lord's wife had a bad dream and swears she saw your face in the fire. Now you're a witch. The punishment, tied to a chair and dunked in a river. If you float, you're a witch. If you sink, congratulations, you were innocent. Too bad you drowned. And no one questions this, because everyone's too scared to be next. So you say your prayers. You bow your head. You act grateful for the pain, because pain means you're still alive. You glance at the door again. That knock earlier, it's still in your head. Sleep creeps up on you like a thief, slow, cruel, and always taking more than it gives. Your dreams, they aren't dreams. They're fever visions, burning churches, screaming villagers, the face of the man you saw whipped last week, the one who died standing, the one you didn't help. You wake up coughing. The air's colder. Your breath fogs. Your sister shivers beside you. She's burning up. Her lips are cracked. You check her forehead. She's sweating. Her eyes are glassy. She's not going to make it. And you can't do anything. There's no doctor, no medicine, just whispered prayers and last rites. You sit there in the dark, listening, waiting, and wondering. How is it that this is considered the good times? This isn't a plague year. This isn't wartime. This is just a regular night in old Europe. And you're still expected to wake up at dawn, smile and survive. The holy hangover, demon bread, and marriages that could kill you. Mourning, again. And you're still here, breathing, barely. Your sister isn't. She's cold now. The kind of cold you don't come back from, but you can't mourn properly. Not yet, because there's work to do, because the priest is coming, because in old Europe, your grief is a luxury you can't afford. The local chapel bell tolls. Once, twice, thrice. You cross yourself out of habit, not belief. Belief is expensive. Doubt, deadly. Here, God sees all, or at least, that's what the church says, and they say a lot. They say the plague was punishment. They say your hunger is humility. They say suffering brings salvation, while they drink imported wine behind carved oak doors. You don't question it. You can't, because questioning the church is worse than questioning the king. The king might be a fool, but the church, they claim they speak for God, and if you talk back, you're not just wrong, you're damned. Confession today is mandatory. You walk through sludge-filled lanes, past skeletal dogs and praying mothers, toward the chapel, a crumbling stone box full of smoke, incense, and judgment. Inside it smells like mold, desperation, and whatever sins were whispered here yesterday. The priest sits in his wooden chair, eyes drooping, robes stained with wax and wine. He asks, "Have you sinned, child?" You hesitate. Lied. Yes. Stolen. Maybe. Hated? Absolutely. You say, "No, Father." He smiles. You are forgiven. No questions asked. No empathy given. Just a vague hand wave and a demand for tithes. A tenth of your food, your coins, or your firewood. You leave the church poor, but holier, apparently. Let's talk about food now. If you're imagining warm stews and hearty bread, congratulations. You're hallucinating. The average peasant meal is bread, just bread, sometimes with onions. If you're lucky, onion skins. But even the bread can betray you because you've just taken a bite and something's wrong. Your lips tingle. Your stomach churns. You see colors that don't exist. A woman nearby starts screaming at her own shoes. It's not a demon. It's ergot, a lovely little fungus that grows on rye. It turns your bread into LSD. Yes, you're tripping. And yes, this happened. Often. Some villages believed the whole town was cursed. Some burned women alive to stop it. Others just waited it out while dancing, naked, screaming. Medieval nutrition was a war crime in slow motion. You ate what you had, which meant meat once every funeral, milk, rarely, and usually spoiled, water, oh sweet, deadly water. Remember, the rivers are toilets, and the wells are worse. So what do you drink? Ale, even children, especially children, because beer was safer than water. You're 11, you're buzzed, and you've never brushed your teeth. Don't worry, they'll fall out soon anyway. Now, let's ruin love. You're not married yet, but that's going to change. Not because you found the one, but because your parents made a deal. And it wasn't romantic. It was strategic. 2 goats, 1 acre of barley, and you. That's your bride price. You meet your future spouse the day before the wedding. They're 14, you're 12. The priest blesses you. The village watches. The pigs are louder than the guests. There is no cake, no dancing, just a quick prayer and an awkward shuffle back to your dirt-floored home. Your honeymoon. A cold mat, 2 terrified kids, and the knowledge that this is forever, unless one of you dies in childbirth, dysentery, or a freak plowing accident. Marriage is not about love, it's about labor. You need a partner to work the land, to breed heirs, to survive, and sometimes to bury. Women die young, men die younger, and children, most don't even reach 5. Your wife might lose 3 infants before breakfast. She might bleed to death in your arms. You might not cry. You can't afford the salt. But hey, at least you're not alone, right? Just emotionally, spiritually, and legally trapped in a world that doesn't care if you live, so long as you pay your dues before dying. You wake up the next morning. The sun hasn't risen. Your joints crack like firewood. Your fingers are numb. And yet, you get up because you have no choice. Because the Lord needs grain. The church needs coin. The world needs peasants like you. Disposable, obedient, invisible. And so, you trudge on. When doctors wore beaks, healing was torture. And war was your weekend plan. You cough. It's not the polite kind. It's the kind that rattles something inside your chest that shouldn't rattle. You spit into the straw by your feet. And blood. Again. And that's bad. Because in old Europe, you're not allowed to be sick. Unless you're rich. Then it's called being melancholic. And you get grapes. You get the barber. That's right. The guy who cuts your hair. Also removes your spleen. Welcome to medieval healthcare. No stethoscope, no anesthesia, just man with trembling hands, a rusty knife, and confidence he absolutely shouldn't have. You're laid down on a wooden board that smells like rot and regret. They tie your arms, not for your safety, for theirs. The doctor doesn't ask what's wrong. He decides, and today the problem is Too much blood. Yes, you're dying, because you have too much life inside you. So out comes the leech. Not one, dozens. They slither across your skin, bite, and suck. With all the hunger of a tax collector in spring, you faint, not from pain, from historical accuracy. If the leeches don't work, there's always trepanation, a fancy word for drill a hole in your skull and pray, or cauterization, where they burn your flesh with red-hot metal to heal you. The smell, barbecue, but make it cursed, and don't even think about antibiotics. They won't exist for another 600 years. You live or you don't. The priest comes either way, but let's say you recover. Congratulations. Now you're strong enough for war, which is great, because war never sleeps. It just moves villages. And now, it's here. You don't know who started it. You don't care. All you know is you're holding a spear the length of your body, wearing leather armor that smells like mildew and meat. You haven't bathed in weeks. Neither has anyone else. Your feet are soaked. Your stomach's empty. Your hands shake. But the Lord says, march. So you march. The battlefield is a mud pit of fear and screaming. You don't recognize anyone except the boy from 2 fields over. You watch him take an arrow through the neck. He drops. You step over him, not because you want to, because you have to, because stopping means you're next. You stab someone. They scream. You feel their warm blood soak your shirt. You cry, not for them, for yourself, because something inside you just died, and nothing's coming to bring it back. War in old Europe wasn't glorious. It was mandatory manslaughter in slow motion. There were no war crimes because there were no rules. You could burn a town, kill its children, loot its bread, and call it a Tuesday. And when you came home, if you came home, you were broken, but no one cared. There was no therapy, just drink and silence and dreams that made sleep a punishment. And then came plague. If you thought war was bad, the plague was war against your own body, and it always won. One sneeze, one cough, one neighbor who should have stayed in bed. That's all it took. You saw it coming, the swelling, the black boils, the smell of flesh turning against itself. And then it hit. Your mother, your brother, the child who still called you Papa. You buried them in shallow pits, one after another. No priest, no hymns, just dirt and despair. You rubbed herbs on your door, lit candles in every room, wore a dead cat around your neck, because someone said it helped. Nothing helped. The air betrayed you. The rats betrayed you. Even God went silent. And then the madness started, the panic, the blame. They said the Jews poisoned the wells, so towns turned into mobs. Women were dragged from their homes. Men were burned in public squares. Children were torn from their mothers, all because fear demands a villain, and the reason was too expensive. You watched the village elder scream for mercy. You watched the blacksmith torch the bakery because he thought bread was cursed. You did nothing because you were afraid, because doing something meant you were next. You learned to hide, to obey, to nod when told the moon was evil, and cats were demons, and your cousin died because of sin, not fleas. But deep down, you knew this world doesn't want you wise. It wants you useful. It wants you afraid. It wants you broken, but not too broken to work. You survived, barely, but the cost. You've forgotten who you were before the sickness, before the battle, before the doctor bled you out and called it healing. You're not living anymore. You're enduring. And in old Europe, that was the dream. You made it out, but barely. You sit in silence, not the peaceful kind, not the silence of birdsong or tea on a windowsill. No, this is the post-medieval kind, the kind that comes after the coughing has stopped, the weeping has dried, and the graves are full. You made it through, somehow, though you're not sure who you is anymore. Your hands still shake, your bones still ache, and your eyes, they no longer widen at horror, because you've seen it all. A child being flogged for stealing turnips, a woman drowned for dreaming too loudly, a friend burned alive for saying the moon looked too red. You've watched humanity eat itself in the name of order, spirituality, and disease prevention techniques that involved more pigeon feathers than sense. Your body lives in 1 century. Your soul left behind somewhere between the bloodletting and the dancing plague. And yet, there's this breeze, warm, gentle, carrying the smell of bread not made with the sawdust. It's 2025, and you're in bed, not straw, not fleas. You've got clean sheets, running water, toilet paper. Nobody's calling you a heretic because you have a cat. Nobody's bleeding you out because your head hurts. You breathe, and the air doesn't taste like chimney smoke and cholera. You're here. You survived old Europe, if only in imagination. But now, look around. Your microwave would be considered witchcraft. Your phone, a crystal ball with doom scrolling. Your medicine cabinet holds miracles. Your tap delivers water that won't kill you. Your doctor uses science, not astrology. Even your worst day, the flat tire, the slow Wi-Fi, the barista getting your name wrong, none of it involves leeches. And sure, we have our problems. Inflation, social media toxicity, that weird pain in your back from sitting too long. But at least you're not being burned for owning a book. At least you get to choose who you are, and not just which lord you'll starve under. At least you can laugh at the past, instead of living in it. So next time your phone dies, or the line at Starbucks feels like the 9th circle of hell, remember this. You could have been in old Europe, where bread was punishment, where bathing was suspicious, where hope was something you buried with your siblings. But you're here, you made it out, and now you know why you wouldn't have lasted a day back then. Not because you're soft, but because you're human, and humans were never meant to survive a world that cruel. So sleep easy, and be grateful